Welcome back to Theoretical Nonsense. Today we're going to be discussing Season 4, Episode 17, The Toast Derivation, and we are food casting it up, talking haggis, blood pudding, origins of a toast, and what makes a chili, along with the history of Caligula and Hippie Love-Ins. Stay tuned! Welcome to Theoretical Nonsense, the Big Bang Theory watch-along podcast. No PhD required.
We're the podcast that recaps all the episodes of The Big Bang Theory. No spoilers.
So hop into your favorite spot.
Make yourself a grasshopper
And enjoy the ride. Hello there, Ryan.
Hey, Rob.
Are you ready to talk the toast derivation?
I am so ready for this.
Oh, yeah. I'm ready to turn this into a food cast, too.
Yeah. Before we started, we were talking about tiramisu, right? So
Yeah.
like more food. So
Food, yep.
it's a food day, everybody.
Yeah, I'm really excited for this one. Great episode, too.
It was
Actually,
a good
yeah.
episode.
And something else from last episode. I thought of this as soon as we stopped recording. We were talking about Leonard and Priya's relationship. And the word we were looking for is consenting. We cannot find the word consenting.
That's a hard word.
Sorry, everyone. We must have sounded very stupid. So I'm sure someone was screaming at the radio.
Consenting, you fools! You fools!
You fool! But back to this episode, amazing episode. I think there's a new dream team in town. Stuart, Zach, and Barry. I would watch that spinoff.
They made it work, and you know I'm already a fan of Zach. I think he's a great character. He's fun. I like Stuart. I'm a little sad with what they're doing to his character, but it's funny. And then I don't like Barry, but when you put them together, by God, it works for me.
Yeah, they all clicked so well together. It's like, wow. I hope they kept in touch.
Me too. Karaoke days every week.
Yeah. Well, what's your other initial thoughts of the episode?
You know, yeah, I liked it. I don't want to get into too much of it. I don't think it's pushed the plot forward all that much, but some great characterization on all parts, and it's also really setting Priya up as a meaningful partner, meaningful friend, part of the gang, and somebody that Leonard actually cares about, and someone we care about too, because she's we see her interacting with people, and interacting with Sheldon, dealing with Sheldon, so it
is fun watching her deal with Sheldon.
Yeah.
And just kind of like, she's met him before, but never, like, she was never really in the group like this, but now that she's integrating herself in the group, it's like, oh crap, Sheldon
has to deal.
Yeah.
So yeah, I wouldn't say that, it's not necessarily filler, because it's helping their characterization. It just doesn't go anywhere further more than we already know. It's just helping solidify things, and it does so in a great way, and it has some funny parts too. And we learn a little bit more about Amy and Bernadette, I suppose, too.
Yep. Amy and Bernadette are just gems.
Gems, yes.
Always. Yep. I love the Amy character.
Okay.
All right. No new emails, no new reviews, so I think we're good. So I think we can probably just get started.
Dive right on in, and if anybody wants to send an email, we will read it. So
yeah, shoot us an email at theoreticalnonsensepod@gmail.com, and we'll read it out loud. We like getting the feedback and hearing from you guys.
Okay, so we are on the Toast Derivation, Season 4, Episode 17. This aired February 24th, 2011. Directed by Mark Zandrowski. Writers Chuck Lorre, Bill Prady, and Stephen Milaro. We start off in the apartment, and Sheldon is ordering pizza. He's trying to do it in Italian, but it's clear that whomever he's speaking to does not speak Italian, and he brings up that this kind of questions their authenticity of what type of pizza they're going to get, which I thought was weird, because I'm like, he probably has ordered pizza from them before, so he knows. I'm not sure. Maybe it's a new pizza place that he's trying out, though. And Leonard
the whole concept of authenticity of the food, like, anybody could really read a recipe. It's like,
right?
You don't need pizza by Italians. You don't necessarily have to have Chinese from Chinese or Thai from Thai people and stuff like that. It's like,
It can still be
Right.
fantastic.
As a person with a chef background, like I cook multiple styles of food, and I think they come out great. So
I've
who
had
knows what
some
the
of it. They're
customer
pretty
says?
fucking good.
Customer just says, "I know a Chinese person made this pizza."
It's like they take
Get
a bite
on,
of
get.
chicken wing. They're like, "This person's from China." It's chicken wing. Why would you know? How would you know?
For any of the audio people, I'm Chinese.
So Leonard is heading out, and he says he's going over to Priya and Raj's, that they are having dinner, and Sheldon can come if he wants to. Howard's apparently coming too. But it's Thursday, and everyone knows that it's Pizza Thursday. That they always have pizza at their apartment on Thursday, and everybody comes over there. And Leonard basically says, well, we can do that over at Raj's. Sheldon is not interested in going to a party, though, and they have a conversation about, well, it's a party here when they all come over here, and Sheldon says that it's not a party because they don't throw parties. So he's getting into the semantics of it a little bit, although it's the same people doing the same thing, just a different venue. It's not a party, it's having dinner. Sheldon says he won't go because it's tradition. And Sheldon gives a little speech about the rich heritage of breaking bread and cheese and sauce, and that means nothing to Leonard. Leonard says, okay, and starts to leave. But then Sheldon says he can't go, and he says, what if Raj decides to serve haggis and blood pudding? Leonard points out it's very unlikely Raj is going to serve haggis and blood pudding, and that he should just go anyways. And Sheldon says that he will go, but he does say that it's madness, that this is not tradition. And we get
It's
to
adness.
Adness, yes.
Adness.
I was wondering if I should mention that, but it does. He did say at the beginning that it's like dropping the M out of words completely from the English alphabet, and so every
We
now and
could
then
do it, but we shouldn't do it.
we shouldn't do it because it's adness.
Well, did you do anything? Since I always try to turn this into a food cast, I know haggis and blood pudding wasn't a huge plot point, but I wanted to do a little bit of research on that.
I didn't do any. I thought about doing because they don't really seem they're like what from Scandinavia or like Europe, right? They're not Indian, so
Yeah, so haggis is the national food of Scotland.
Scotland. There we go.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's classified as a pudding in the British sense. That it's a British pudding. Whenever they call it a pudding, it's not what we Americans think of as pudding, which I love. Love me some pudding.
It's not banana pudding. It's not chocolate pudding or
As we did
tapioca.
our pudding tasting episode.
Exactly.
That was fun.
We should do a different pudding episode with haggis and blood pudding.
I actually wouldn't mind that. I'll get to that in my explanation, but every country has their version of this. It seems like only America does not have something like this. But I actually kind of enjoyed it.
I think I've had blood pudding before. I've never had haggis though. Not that I remember, but I think I like blood pudding.
They're very similar to each other. That in the sense like generally, well, at least with haggis, you could actually make it sweet or savory. And the key thing about it is it's usually a bunch of stuff that gets stuffed into a casing, usually like a stomach lining or the stomach bag, and then it's either boiled or steamed. And then generally, there's like it's the animal parts that nobody really likes. So it's like the liver, the kidney, the lungs. It's all chopped up really fine. A lot of times you'll mix it with like oatmeal, onions, and other seasonings. And then it gets stuffed back into that stomach bag, stitched up, and then boiled. So it kind of looks like a sausage in a sense.
That's what I remember with blood pudding, it looking more like a sausage.
Yeah. And if you've never had it, people say that it tastes like the marriage between creamy oatmeal and meatloaf. So very like the casing, once you get through the casing, it's very just soft. Like a meat puree, which honestly doesn't sound too horrible. And
like, when you say puree, it sounds kind of bad, but like meat, like I think that sounds good to me.
call it a pate.
Pate. Exactly.
Yeah, it's a little fancier. But then I kept doing some more research, and then I was like, oh, Sheldon should only be really half worried about Raj serving haggis, because in its authentic form, it's actually illegal in the United States. As of
Oh.
1971, it's illegal because of the use of livestock lung. So they use the authentic version, but like I said, it's like the liver, the kidney, but they'll also chop up the lung. And lung as human food in America has been illegal since the 70s because it could contain some of the stomach fluids, which is a serious foodborne illness risk.
Mm.
But then again, there are recipes without the lung. So he could have, if he was to make haggis, he could have just made that.
I was gonna say, if
But
you cook it properly, shouldn't that take care of it too?
ah, I
I
don't know. I'm not gonna make it.
will make haggis.
Yeah. Boil it longer. It needs to hit 180. And then blood pudding. Blood pudding, also known as black pudding. It's very,
Mm.
like I said, it's a very common dish in a lot of other countries except America. So people typically think Ireland, but it's also very popular in Scotland and Britain. Because in Britain they have the breakfast bangers and stuff like that. It actually gets served with that pretty often.
I was gonna say I've had it at breakfast. That's what I'm remembering. I'm like blood pudding, but isn't that a breakfast thing? I don't know where I
Yeah.
was, but it was for breakfast. So
But yeah, it's also common in Spain and Germany, and I've had the Korean version. It's
Ooh.
funny because my wife loves it. She's Korean, and I first tried it with her the last time I was in Washington. We went to a Korean restaurant and they had it, and that's where I tried it, and I was like, this is actually isn't bad. It, like I said, it looks like a hot dog. It's kind of blackish purple in color.
yeah.
Then you cut the casing, and it's just like imagine just like a really soft meatloaf.
Hmm.
Like meatloaf has a little bit of bite and texture from like the meat, but imagine if it was just soft.
Hmm.
So have that with like some rice on the side, put a little kimchi on top of it. It's like this is pretty good.
They make it sound a lot worse than it actually is. Like you could have it not knowing
Yes.
what it is, and it'd be fine.
Yeah. But it's like I said, it's a sausage and uses animal blood. That's why it's called pudding. Typically, and it's the primary binder. Typically, it's made from pigs, and then it gets fillers like oats and barley, and then encased in the intestine. And a lot of places will put like raisins and currants in as
Hmm.
fillers, like what they do in Ireland and Scotland. And then in Germany and Spain, they'll add other cured meats, onion, and potato. And then Nordic countries will make it sweet by adding apples or sweet lingonberries.
Huh.
Yeah, so like I said, very popular in many countries, just not so much America. But I highly encourage anyone to at least just try it.
I wish America was a little bit more diverse with our foods. Even hot dogs. We did the IQ point on hot dogs before, and their hot dogs get so much resistance, and it's basically just tougher pieces of meat. But like, I don't think blood pudding or haggis would ever go over well in the United States. It's too much of a pessimistic view on foods that are not what we normally see.
Yeah, I when I first I not when I first watched this in our rewatch, you know how we do like more deeper dives. You don't really think about it, but I was thinking like Sheldon is generally pretty adventurous with food, or at least that's what it seems like. He loves like
Yeah.
Thai food, Indian food, but I guess he draws the line at haggis and blood pudding.
I'd like to hear more why that is, if we're ever going to find out, like, what are his limitations and why. He had a bad day with haggis one time. I don't know.
Well,
Something.
I did get ahead. I was telling Ryan earlier offline, I'm actually on vacation this week, so I've been kind of filling in some blanks and just like getting a little bit further ahead in Big Bang Theory, just because it's it's fun. I've watched the series multiple times, but I thought, oh, I'm just gonna get ahead. I just want to watch a few episodes, and then we will find that Sheldon hates Greek food.
Oh,
It's not really a
no.
spoiler, but it's like, oh, he hates Greek food.
Ooh, do we find out why, though? I want to know
Yeah.
why. Why, Sheldon?
Nope, they just kind of make a comment,
Just
and
how.
then you'll see, and it's quite funny.
I have to be in the mood for Greek food. I sometimes can really enjoy it, but like other times I'm like, it just does not sound good at all. It's kind of like that Mediterranean flair, right?
Yeah,
Olives,
a lot of
and
oregano, cumin, um, lamb.
lamb. And the thing is, I
I
really
love
like
lamb.
lamb. I love lamb, and I know when I was in Texas, my parents used to go to Mediterranean Greek restaurants, not all the time, but several times, and I'm like, it just doesn't sound good. I'm like, it's not that I thought it was gross. It just like didn't sound good. And so, I don't know. We'll have to see what he says. That might be a point for Sheldon. It might not be. We'll find out. But
Okay. Well,
sometimes it does sound
we
good.
will bring up Greek a little later, though,
Ooh.
so look forward to that.
Some more Greek in this episode. Tell you
Yeah.
what.
Oh, speaking of Greek stuff, just out of curiosity, this has nothing to do with the episode, but do you say euro? Do you say gyro? Gyro? What do you say?
uh it's weird and it depends on my state of mind. I think I usually say euro. Uh However, I know every now and then I'll say gyro, especially because in Warcraft 2, if you played the humans, there was a scientist that had a gyrocopter. And I always think of gyro like that. And yeah, I think that's influenced me, but I always feel like that's the wrong way to say it. But yeah, the gyrocopter.
I've always said euro because like I feel like in Washington and Seattle, like that scene always said euro, but
Mm-hmm.
then on Top Chef, I heard it get called gyro,
Gyro.
and then here in Pennsylvania, everyone says gyro.
Gyro. I
Everyone
got them
says it.
started when I lived there. I told them all it's
Yeah,
gyro.
you just started whispering it to everyone. It's gyro, gyro,
Like while
gyrocopter,
they were
gyrocopter.
sleeping, I'd walk in.
You flew
Gyro.
in your gyrocopter,
Exactly.
just like Santa, through the chimney and just whispered in their ear and it just flew off.
It's like a horrible form of Santa Claus. Gyrocopter.
Is the gyrocopter kind of like Inspector Gadget's thing, where it just pops out of his head?
I can't remember exactly. I kind of want to say it was like kind of like Da Vinci's helicopter that like spun like that, but
Uh,
honestly, it's been so long that I don't even know if that's a real memory. I just remember him having a gyrocopter.
okay.
Like that sounds like a funny word, and it's like stuck with me.
Okay, well, I'm just curious. I always think about that because I was just talking about that in the menu design process. But anyways.
Actually, Rob, the copter is made out of lamb. It is a lamb copter.
Oh, I would eat that.
So as you're flying it, have a bite. The whole
And
thing's edible.
now we're going down.
With full tummies, though.
Mm. What a way to go
What do
down.
I get? Okay, so it's the intro, and we're at Raj's hallway, and Sheldon starts complaining about his TV, his plasma TV, having a cluster of dead pixels in the left corner. And I think that would bother me, but if I'm at somebody else's house, I wouldn't see myself complaining about it. But if it was my TV, I think I would go a little bit crazy until I replaced it. So I can see why he's bitching, but it seems weird to do it at the residence. It's out of place.
I think he's just expecting the worst. He's just like going in negative, so he's just like looking for reasons to hate the experience.
Yeah. Leonard says not to watch TV, to read a book instead, and Sheldon says he can't be a social pariah. That's not his style, right? Leonard gives an audible sigh, and Sheldon wants to ask if the sigh was for him or for the dead pixels, because they are irritating. Raj answers the door and says, just in time, we've made Tex-Mex. They go inside. Priya's there. Leonard and Priya kiss. Howard is also already there. And mentions to Raj, that must be fun for you to watch, that they're basically, was it, Leonard sucking spit out of her face type comment, right? Very, very extreme graphic there, Howard. Thank you. Sheldon says he needs to decide where everyone is sitting. Priya says, just go ahead and sit anywhere you want. And Sheldon says, like hippies at a Love-In. And this is my first IQ point because, first of all, I didn't really, I get the general concept of hippies being peaceful and like, sit where you want, man. But I didn't really know what a Love-In was or why he was really connecting it to this. And so I did some research on Love-Ins. And basically, what I understand is they are basically festivals with merchants and people and music, and they've developed through the years, but mostly what Wikipedia called them peaceful public gatherings focused on meditation, love, music, sex, and recreational drugs. However, I saw on CBS8.com a video of Love-In, and I tell you, all I saw was like there were people taking naps under trees. Some people were laying on the grass playing chess. kids were running about. There's one guy who had a duck for some reason. He was just smiling with a duck. And I didn't see anybody taking drugs. I didn't see any sex. I mean, no, maybe they picked and chose what they were showing me, but it looked like kind of a fun time, I guess. But apparently the term was coined by an LA radio comedian named Peter Bergman. He hosted the first Love-In on Easter, March 26, 1967, in Elysian Park. However, there were some sit-ins kind of like this before that. That was just the official Love-In, first Love-In. And there's something called a Heavenly Happening on November 16th, 1966. So like almost a year before, half a year before. And it took place at midnight on the Sheep Meadow in Central Park, New York. It was arranged by New York Parks Commissioner Thomas Hoving. Then in 1967, January 1967, also before the first official Love-In, there was one called Human Being in Polo Fields in San Francisco's Golden Gate Park. And this is, I guess these have evolved, and I saw that now they're not even called Love-Ins, they're just called like festivals, and there's actually a big one that these have evolved into called Hippie Fest, and if you go to hippiefest.org, you can find more information, but they do still go on today, and I think they're probably a little bit different. I think they're more about the party. I don't know, maybe they're the same, but they're kind of still around in some way, shape, or form. But I also read this article from jstor.org by Jeremy Guida, and it was on what was called the Summer of Love in 1967 in San Francisco. And the Summer of Love had a lot of Love-Ins, I suppose, and it gave me some insight on thoughts behind what Sheldon said and questioning it a little bit. But apparently the Summer of Love in San Francisco, apparently between 75,000 and 100,000 young people moved to Haight-Ashbury district for that summer. And the district was considered very hip with art, music, theater, and literature, and these youth promoted peace, love, and freedom of expression. And because it was hip, that name hippie kind of stuck with it, that they were trying to get into the hippest music, the hippest art, the hippest literature. And there was apparently a lot of trouble, not because of crime, but because there were so many people moving to this small space that they were kind of lacking kind of some necessities. And this article went into that there was kind of a cry out for like food, clothes, beds, soaps, blankets, and more, that there was just too many people for the essentials that the district was offering, that everybody was going there. But because all these people were going there and they're having Love-Ins and they're being dubbed hippies, news reports were picking up on this. And the article kind of seemed to make the claim that the word hippie was really created by the media, that people going there didn't call themselves like, I'm a hippie, man. It was the media trying to explain what was going on, this insurgence of counterculture movement, 75 to 100,000 young people going to this place that was considered hip. And the word kind of became a stereotype and almost a way to undermine the creative and thoughtful movement, that these people were going there to think and discuss philosophy, discuss problems with the world, and the media is like, they're just a bunch of hippies. So there was kind of this backlash saying, we're not just hippies, that's really kind of, you're downplaying us, you're being offensive with this. And so I kind of took, I don't know, I see what Sheldon's saying, but I do feel like it's playing on stereotypes kind of, and that the Love-Ins that I was looking on weren't necessarily the kind of like, just sit wherever, man, it's all good. That was kind of a misconcept, that Love-Ins were actually more like music festivals that you would go to today, that they're not much that difference. Again, I wasn't live, I don't know, but from what I was looking at, and that duck staring at me in that video. But the last thing of this IQ point in the article that I found really funny was that what really killed this movement was capitalism. That capitalism stepped in, and much like the big criticism for Pride Month now is that so many companies are stepping in just to monetize on it, that people are like, it's not about making money, and it kind of loses value if you're just making money off it. Same thing happened with the hippie movement, that companies were building in and say, we're a hippie store, buy hippie stuff here. And hippies are like, I don't really want to be a hippie anymore. So
Yeah, it's like
So,
Like,
anyways, that was my IQ movement. That the movement kind of died down, and that the Love-In movement kind of died out, partially because of capitalism, I suppose. Um, but there are festivals that still keep up the same uh, feeling, the same concept today, even though they're not called the same thing. And if you see ducks, let me know, because I was curious, why the fuck is this duck
yeah, are
there?
these ducks still at these hippie love fests?
Right? It looked like a really nice duck too. It looked like the guy was just kind of holding it, and they were both kind of dancing together. Okay, so that was
It's
that. Yeah,
Did you ever watch Community? You watched Community, not all of it though,
I've seen a couple
right?
episodes.
Okay, I feel like there was this one scene where they're talking about this group of older people at the community college, and they
Mhm.
call them hippies, and it's because all of them had hip replacements.
Problems.
I don't know if that was exactly the joke, but it was something to that extent, and I just kept thinking every time you kept saying hippie, I was thinking about Community.
These festivals are completely about hip replacements. So they start watching TV, and Sheldon complains that it's Harry Potter and 98% of the Sorcerer's Stone. And I didn't get many points this episode, but that's one point for not being like Sheldon. I would not.
Call it out.
Yeah. I might complain later, like, man, I could not pay attention to the movie, that spot. And, I can say that for people I'm close to, and I think and I have gone into debates about this. I do call them out for having that goddamn true motion feature enabled, trying to get television shows up to 128 or 120 hertz per second or whatever.
Oh, where it's like super lifelike and everything like
Yeah,
that.
it's like what do they call that? The soap opera effect, where it looks like
Yeah.
so lifelike. And I'm like, when I watch TV, I want it to like be like cinema. I don't want it to be like I'm watching a camcorder filming somebody's life.
I agree with that. I think there was that big debate when The Hobbit came out in theaters because that's
Yeah.
how it was filmed, and then people were just so turned off by it.
Mm-hmm.
I was
And
turned off by it. I was like, "What the fuck is
right,
happening?"
it's weird. It's like surreal. And my dad's like gone used to it. He's like, I couldn't figure out how to fix it, so I've learned to live with it, and I kind of prefer it now. I'm like, no, don't fall to the
No,
dark side.
your soul is lost.
I've lost my dad today.
Evil has won.
Evil. But I feel like I wouldn't say that while I'm in the presence of people who are feeding me. So I would. In fact, I actually made a
I'm a
note here.
classic kind of person. I talk shit behind their back.
Yeah, I go home and fuck you up, man.
I'll never say that to your face, but behind your back.
I remember when I was a kid, I was like in fifth grade or something. I went to a friend's house, and I remember the kid. His mom was really, really nice. His dad was really, really nice too. And I always thought it was weird because the kid was really smart, but he was kind of ornery. And I got along with him, but he was also the type to kind of fuck shit up just to see how the world would burn. And I was like, that gets kind of I'm too stressed out and anxious to do that. But I remember one time his mom was feeding us, and ham sandwich and Miracle Whip, and I think it was the first time I'd ever had Miracle Whip, and I realized I loved Miracle Whip. My family was a mayonnaise household, and I realized I'm the black sheep of the family. I like Miracle Whip, but she served us milk with it, and the milk was rancid. And I drank it because I didn't want to be offensive. And I'm like, this is sour. It's got some chunks in it, but if I die, I die. I don't want to be offensive. And then he's like, Mom, this milk's fucked up. Or I don't know, he didn't swear, but he said something to those lines.
He called it out, yeah.
He called it out. And she's like, we just bought this. I just opened the cap. I don't know what's up. We're going to have to get a refund. And she swapped it out very nicely. And I just smiled and nodded. But to this day, I remember, like, yeah, I would not complain. If they're trying to host me, I try to be as hospitable as possible. For better or worse, sometimes you drink rancid milk.
Just be polite.
Be polite. I'll nod.
As they get racist, just smile and nod. Like,
Exactly.
Okay.
I gotta go, but thank you for dinner, everybody.
Thanks for the ham sandwich with the Miracle Whip, and I'm gonna go.
I'm gonna go. I love the Miracle Whip. A plus on that. F on the racism. Okay, so Raj brings out fajitas for everyone to make their own. It's Tex-Mex night, and Sheldon complains that it's a dinner that with some assembly required. And Priya offers margaritas. Sheldon jumps up and asks, "Where am I?"
He's out. Done.
And and I
He
don't
drew
get
the
that.
line.
Isn't Tex-Mex usually with margaritas, or am
I think
I?
it's because they don't normally have alcohol on a regular basis. I would imagine that's
Oh,
why.
I see. They're
That's
not.
kind of what I thought. Like alcohol on a Thursday night? What?
And they're not going out because if they're out, like I know Raj usually
Raj
has a
love a
beer.
beer.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but that makes a whole lot more sense. I thought it was because he was saying that margaritas don't go with Tex-Mex. I'm like, what?
What's
Uh,
happening now,
so
Sheldon?
things are just completely off the grid for him. I'm like,
Yeah.
margar tequila on a Thursday? What the
Unheard of.
unheard of? So we are at the Cheesecake Factory, and Sheldon walks in disheartedly and walks up and orders from Penny a water neat with an umbrella. And I think it's funny because she starts walking away and he kind of complains that she's not rubbing the bar. She's like, I was getting you the goddamn umbrella, man.
I remember the first time that I watched this, I was like, "Where's his umbrella?" I was
That's
like,
what I
"Oh,
said.
good. Oh, good. Good.
Thank you,
Good."
umbrella. And Sheldon starts explaining that Leonard is dating Priya. Now they have to hang out at Raj's apartment. It's just horrible. He says that at one point Raj put on Ragay and Priya took off her shoes to dance, or did I?
She just took her shoes off.
She took her shoes off. For some reason, I added dance there. I don't think it was the dance off. And he compared it to the last days of Caligula. And this is my second IQ point. Did you do anything on Caligula?
I did. Yeah, because
You want to go first?
Sure, because I didn't know what this meant.
Um,
I didn't know who Caligula was, so I had to look into this.
I want you to go first because I have some thoughts.
Okay. Well, Caligula, also known as Gaius Julius Caesar, is known as the Mad Roman Emperor. So I will say in the beginning of this that new information. I found a lot of websites that say that new information is finding out that Caligula was actually a very misunderstood and became a victim of poor historical documentation.
Yeah.
Many of the accounts of Caligula weren't documented until nearly 40 years after his death. So there could have been a lot of misinterpretation and possible bias. So the new theory is that he might not have been as bad as what history tells, but for some reason I feel like some of this stuff is true, or like a lot of it probably was. He probably was a little on the crazy side, but it might not have as bad, and I do have a bunch of examples. Here are the highlights of his madness. He was born in 12 CE and he died in 41 CE. So he was only 29 years old when he died. He took the reign around the age of 25 and he was given the nickname Caligula when he was a child by the soldiers of his father, as he would visit the soldiers during war times and wear small battle outfits. So they named him Caligula because it meant little boots. And his life, after reading all this, I just thought Game of Thrones. Like, that was his life. Like, there's lots of treason, fears of assassination, and sprinkle in a little bit of incest. Game of Thrones.
Potential incest.
Potential,
Alleged.
yes. Well, the beginning of his time as emperor went super well. He was young and very charismatic when he took over. He ended the treason trials, he granted amnesty to the exiled, abolished unfair taxes, and organized lavish gladiatorial games and chariot races. The people loved him. He then went on to rebuild temples and began construction on aqueducts to ensure a fresh water supply. And then, after about 6 months, it starts to go to shit. The story goes that he fell ill, and after that, he was kind of just never the same. So he either had this huge mental breakdown, or he was epileptic. So he was super paranoid and brought back treason trials, started executing senators and those he thought opposed him. He raised taxes just after lowering them in order to pay for his excesses, meaning giant boats and parties. He led meaningless military campaigns just for the glory. He then named his horse as a consul. However, this is something that was kind of disputed in history.
Yeah, that's one of the things.
Yeah, which reminded me a little bit of Gladiator 2. Did you ever watch Gladiator 2?
I haven't seen Gladiator 2 yet. I need to watch that one.
Yeah, because they're crazy twin emperors, and one of them named his pet monkey as like a senator or something like that. So it reminded me, but he was like legit. This one, history is kind of just unfolding that it was kind of a prank from Caligula to showcase that the Senate was just a big joke and a horse could actually do a better job.
Hmm.
Then there was the rumors of his incestuous relations with his sisters, and which we mentioned. It's we don't know if it's true. It's alleged. So history uncovered that it's possibly a rumor because there are reports that Caligula would host lavish banquets where he would have sex with his sisters as guests looked on. However, when they looked through like journal entries of like all the people that actually attended his parties and stuff like that, they went through all of their archives and everything. There was actually no mention of this sort of behavior at all.
Yeah.
So it was thought of a rumor to kind of smear his reputation and to give more justification for his removal. He did declare himself as a god, and his arrogance pushed him to insult his own Praetorian Guard, which created the opening for Senate rebellion. It was his own guards that ended up betraying him. And then his wife and his daughter were also murdered in the coup in order to stop any legitimate bloodlines. So after all this, it does seem like we all know that history is written by the victors. So all these crazy stories we hear about Caligula were potentially documented as a means to justify his removal. But it is possible that a lot of madness was true. And that's the madness that Sheldon compares to dinner at Raj's.
So a lot of the same stuff, and why I really wanted to hear your thoughts were, again, that theory that not a lot, but the really far-fetched stuff is probably rumor or hearsay. And I've seen this with a couple other people I've studied. I can't remember the main one. I know read a little bit about Elizabeth Bathory, but I think her rumors are pretty much true that she did actually. She's the one who Dracula is based off of. That Vlad Tepes did not actually bathe in the blood of people, but Elizabeth Bathory did. She would like kidnap virgin girls from her village and then bathe in their blood to be beautiful. But there was another person I meant to grab the name, I forgot to, but he was apparently richer than the church in his town or his district. He was richer than like the government in his area, and he like fed the poor. He was great with people. He put on plays to give people's jobs. He loved literature and art. He was probably gay, the reports, but the if I remember correctly, church basically said that he was an evil witch and had him executed. And after his death, they divided up his money, basically stole it, and then claimed that like he would kidnap children and eat their bones. And he's considered like the scariest figure in history. I can't remember his name. I'll have to look it up. And a lot of it has turned out to be kind of garbage that most likely the church and state wanted his money. And so they made it up to have him killed to take his money and reclaim power. But anyways, going back to Tapish, the reason I've looked up Caligula before is, have you ever seen Dracula Untold?
No, but I know what you're talking about.
It's not a great movie, but I enjoyed it. It's kind of like a video game where Vlad Tepes becomes Dracula, and he gets superpowers, and he fights all the bad guys, like, I don't know, or it's almost like Diablo, where he goes through and he turns into bats, and he flies around people, and then uses superpowers to kill them. And anyways, it starts off kind of based on history, and then to like reclaim power, he learns that there's a creature in the mountains, and he goes to the mountains to try to strike a bargain to gain this creature's powers, and that's how he becomes Dracula. And it's been a while since I've seen the movie, but I remember reading it's not clearly stated in the movie, but the creature in the mountains is named it is Caligula. That in the movie standards, he outlived the incest and the assassination and made a deal with the devil to become immortal because he wanted to be a god and was insane. And he broke the deal with the devil and got trapped in the mountains. So if you ever watch Dracula Untold, that creature in the mountains is supposed to be Caligula.
Oh.
I think it's a good movie. I'm really disappointed because it ends with present day, like it was going to get a sequel, and the sequel probably would have been awesome. but it never got a sequel. And
Dracula with superpowers in modern times.
right, it was like New York
It
City,
it
and
reminds me of Underworld, the Underworld series, which
yeah,
I fucking love. I love the Underworld series.
I there's like one or two that I wasn't a fan of, but like the first one and like the third one, I think
The third one, Awakening,
yeah,
it was really short too. It was 80 minutes. It was 80 minutes nonstop adrenaline. I was
just
like, this is
pure yes.
awesome.
uh, all right, so I think you said a lot of this that yeah he was named Little Boots. Weird that there are some theories that he might have had epilepsy, that he might have had hyperthyroidism, or somebody mentioned Wilson's disease, which I wasn't too sure about, but it's like an accumulation of copper in your system. But the reports are probably exaggerated that he would do stuff like talk to the moon or that he had his horse as counsel. They suggested that the law wasn't. There was law in the society. So if he had a horse coming in, lawmakers would be like, fuck this and throw down. So there would have been more accounts that lawsuits against the horse, I suppose. And there's none of that. So it probably was a ploy or a stunt, not taken seriously. And History.com editors claim that he was absolutely wasteful. He built those ships. They were called, what were they called?
They're like luxury barges.
Nemi ships. And apparently, like, some of them were found and recovered, like, during World War II, and then they were destroyed again. But they're luxury barges with, like, marble, and they're supposed to be for parties, and people started saying they were for orgies. And there was a comment that said there was one person, what was it? Reports of incest. So, according to a historian, Suetonius, in 121 AD, 80 years after Caligula's assassination, this historian claimed that Caligula would sleep with his three sisters. But other historians around the time never mentioned these accusations, including one who claimed Caligula's sister, Agrippina, would sleep with her son. And it's like, if you're going to call somebody out on incest and say she's sleeping with her son, wouldn't you say she's known to sleep with Caligula too? Like, it seems like those would go together.
You would piggyback that.
Yeah, and it just seems like, these seem like kind of outrageous claims, again, made up by the victor to kind of solidify the reasons they assassinated him and butchered his wife and killed his daughter. What else was I going to say? Oh, so yeah, then I looked up what exactly did it mean for his last days, and there wasn't anything specific about his last days being more chaotic or crazy than others. That he was, yeah, I don't know, just as lavish as he had ever been. I mean, he'd only been in service for like 4 years, so not even that long. And it's not like his last days Rome was actually burning or anything. But some people say that his last days, like, he was really amping up his seduction and that sex angle. But some people were claiming, I looked on Reddit and kind of that's the most I could get. Nobody anywhere else was talking about his last days, but I found a Reddit section where people were talking about Sheldon's words specifically, and people were saying that, yeah, maybe he was too seductive with his other people in poverty, maybe sleeping with his wives or daughters. But that's, again, more accusations that were completely unfounded. I'm not saying that those days were any worse than other days. And some people were saying that he was like the fall of Rome, and that his last days really put in motion for the fall of Rome. But that doesn't make sense either, because Rome existed for centuries afterwards. So maybe he was one of the dominoes, but there were several other factors throughout the way. It's kind of like Nero was the fall for Rome. Everybody's blaming Rome. But like you said, he actually did help Rome a lot. And he didn't conquer Britain, but he set in motion the steps that would taking over London, conquering Britain, making London as it was at the time, London Millennium, or whatever it is. I felt like there was something else I was going to say. Yeah, anyways, I don't see anything special about his last days, anything coming to a head or chaos. There's a movie apparently about him that really makes his last days seem more chaotic than others. I haven't seen it, but that's the impression I got. But historically, it was kind of, he was doing these things ongoing and people got fed up with it. killed him, and then started making up more reasons why they needed to kill him.
I just took his last days as Caligula as like it was just chaotic, like just
Yeah.
Caligula. So I kind of just took it generally like that. That's kind of just what I assumed he meant.
I
And I did a slight research on that movie that you mentioned,
Yeah, what'd you find?
the 1979 movie called Caligula. It has Malcolm McDowell in it, Peter O'Toole, and Helen Mirren. It was known for being one of the most obscene movies in all of history. Like it in order for it to play like in certain countries, it was basically chopped to pieces in editing. They basically had to cut out so many things. For example, when Helen Mirren's character was giving birth, they actually used three pregnant women and a doctor, and they filmed a real birth. Like,
Dang.
like that's kind of it's things like that. Then there's like a bunch of like sex orgies and everything, like basically
Hmm.
hardcore porn in it. Um, the original, like with all this stuff, the original screenplay actually asked for his name to be just removed from the movie. Like, I want nothing to do with this movie.
I don't know
And
why I wrote that,
I
but
nope,
fuck it.
because he wrote it, but then like the studio just kind of took over, and
Hmm.
the studio was crazy because one of the producers was Bob. G- G- I'm gonna butcher his name. Giacone, who was the founder of Penthouse magazine, the porno
Uh,
one.
yeah.
So he actually did film some hardcore porn scenes, and he like after the movie was even shot, like he just filmed some porn and then just inserted it into the movie. So then after that, the director of the movie, Tinto Brass, was like, "Nope, take my name off it. Done." So it is down in history as like basically smut and hardcore porn, like a very obscene, like
I want
so.
to watch it now because it's never come up as one of like the raunchiest films ever. Like I know ones that often come up on lists are was it Serbian Film is one of them. I haven't seen that. 100 Days of Saddam, I believe it's called. Salam, where it's about these like young people who get kidnapped and are forced to do sexual things, and like the whole movie is just them being sexually tortured.
Mhm.
And Antichrist,
I heard
which
about Antichrist.
um, which isn't like filthy the whole way through, but there's some scenes that are like that's overly graphic, and I also like I forget the director's name, but I question his work, and I've seen a couple of his other movies. What else did he do? Melancholia, with Kirsten Dunst, and he always works with. He also did was it Diaries of a Nymphomaniac or whatever with Shia LaBeouf and some other people. I haven't seen that one, but sometimes I feel like
It comes to a point where you should just direct porn.
yeah. Like I feel like he throws a story out for what's the word effect to get people to go, oh my god, and I'm like, for me, the story is key, and that you shouldn't be. But maybe there's a good argument that there's a reason you need to see genital mutilation. I don't know. I couldn't find that argument for Antichrist, but that's what you get when you watch Antichrist. So
It's part of the story.
it's
It
the
sets the
story.
foundation.
It's a foundation of
It
you and
creates
me.
motive.
Yeah. I thought you were gonna tell me like, and the maker of the film was Caligula's great 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 grandson.
Oh no.
He
The
said his
dog
orgies.
lived.
We're gonna build a boat for this movie.
$1 billion over budget.
1 billion. So that's Caligula, and kind of Sheldon thinking things are going chaos and they're falling apart. Yeah. So, okay, moving forward, Amy calls at the bar and asks if Sheldon's all right. He was supposed to go home, but he just checked in on Facebook at Cheesecake Factory. Apparently, Sheldon's taxi driver did not look like his photo, so he jumped out and ran. And makes sense. Amy says hi to Penny, and apparently at the angle, she can see up Penny's nose. Sheldon says his problem can wait while the two hens finish clucking. And he kind of picks up on this again later. Cluck, cluck, cluck. Penny says it's just going to happen. He'll have to hang out more at Raj's. That's just part of life. Things move on. Amy says she's sorry Penny got dragged into this. She must be devastated since Leonard is now dating an amazing new lover. Amy says that it's time to face the fact that Leonard was the nucleus of the social group. That Sheldon, although he thought he was the whimsical elf that led everybody a good time, maybe he's not. Amy believes that Sheldon is still the funnest person she knows, just other people may not see him that way. And then I like Penny says she's fun. And Amy says she shouldn't be too needy. That's probably
Don't be
why
so
Leonard.
needy.
Yeah, don't be so needy. That's probably why Leonard ran away, or you drove Leonard away, which is weird because
not
Amy's
exactly what happened.
yeah,
That's not what happened at all.
she's supposed to be good, like her best bestie, right? And like that's not what happened at all. So
do you even know the story, girl?
Right? Whose bestie are you, anyways? Jesus. Back at the apartment, Sheldon is setting out snacks. Leonard says everyone's eating at Raj's not to put out snacks, but Sheldon points out that he's a little what's the word? Preemptive with that comment that he's having people over. Stuart, Barry Kripke, Penny's ex-boyfriend Zach, and LeVar Burton. Apparently, he tweeted LeVar Burton and hopes he will show up. Sheldon says it was a good run, but change is part of life, and goodbye, Leonard. Leonard does leave, and Sheldon says he'll be back. And in the background, yeah, he'll be back. And Leonard says in the background, I will be back. I live here, right? And we flash forward to the apartment later on. Stuart, Zach, and Barry are sitting around. And I was really curious how they got Barry there, but they explain it. I think it's really funny, too, that Zach's eating Milk Duds.
So, I noticed that, too. Yes, I was going to call that out.
He's hooked on them now. He
loves the Milk Duds.
Apparently, LeVar will not be joining them, so they can move on to the introduction portion of the evening. And he mentions that they can find goodie bags. There's more mentions in their goodie bags. Stuart introduces himself. He runs a comic book store where, for financial reasons, he's living at the moment. The most he's hoping for tonight is a hot shower. And
poor Stuart.
I'm like, what the fuck happened? Like, we know his romantic life is like kind of in the drain, but I didn't realize his financial life is all fucked up too.
Yeah, I mean, I've always wondered how, before, the big, Marvel and DC boom and everything like that, comic book books are really not that expensive.
Yeah.
Just the overhead on a place like that and the, rent and everything like that. It's like, are you really going to make back your money on comic books? Maybe some, action figures and stuff like that, but, that's tough.
That's what, there's a comic book store in the mall near me, and it has they had a small storefront, and they moved outside, and I don't understand how or why, but they have, these big windows, and it looks like it used to be, a kid toy shop, because there's, a back room with, a carnival sign on it or something, and I'm like, it seems like the overhead would be astronomical for that place, and they sell a lot of, Funko toys. They have a good selection of, He-Man figures and Transformer figures, the more adult ones for, Nika or whatever it is, but still, I don't know how many people go in and buy action figures there, and for the most part, the action figures I want, they're not even going to have. I have to get, through a collector, I have to pre-order because they're limited edition, so, yeah. Not to say I buy action figures, but yeah, that's kid stuff.
Totally. Yeah.
But they're cool. I don't know how many people buy, and they're expensive too. It's $20 an action figure, so it's I guess if they sell one, that keeps them in business for a day. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm confused. His life is spinning out of control, and it's funny, but at the same time, I don't think he deserves that. I want to see something good happen to him. It's kind of harsh. It kind of reminds me, and It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. There's a guy, I can't remember his name, but he starts off as a priest. And as it goes on, his life gets worse and worse. He thinks Steve's in love with him, and so he quits the priesthood. And then, he loses an eye for some reason. He becomes homeless. He gets burned up in a fire. he has like a threesome with dogs to make money. Like it's just like gets
Oh
worse and
man.
worse. It's the guy from
Westworld, right? What's
no
his
no.
name?
So that's the guy who he's like a brother who is like in an incestuous family. This guy was in Mythic Quest, the blonde guy who's the head guy.
Oh, David?
Yeah, David. It's
Oh,
David.
okay. I didn't
And
remember him in that.
yeah, like he's not in every single episode, but like as it goes on, and like at this point, he's like horribly disfigured. He's missing an eye, and like sometimes he's covered in hair because he sleeps with dogs to get warm. It's like, and like at some point, I'm like that he didn't deserve that, but at the same time, everybody in that deserves something bad because they're all horrible
Yeah.
people. So,
Yeah.
so anyway, I feel bad for Stuart, and although it's weird to go to somewhere just to get a shower, I hope he gets that shower. Zach brings himself up, but he forgets what he is. Come back to me, please. Although it's weird because doesn't he own he runs a printing company with his dad? So
Well, I guess that the whole point of him is that he's basically like a nepo baby.
uh
Like he was basically just given this position of power within his dad's company, and he doesn't really know what he's doing.
I thought it was more he forgot what he did for a living. Like, what do I do?
I think he was just nervous too.
Just
Like,
nervous.
don't look at me.
Don't look at me. Which makes you like him that much more because like he's emotional, right?
Yes.
Barry says he's Barry and he's only there because there's supposed to be a raffle, or as he says, a waffle.
A waffle?
A waffle. And the waffle is the grand finale of the evening. And yes, you have to be present to win. So Barry is there for the long haul. Zach tries to finish, but crap, why is this so hard? And gives up. At Penny's apartment, Bernadette and Amy show up and they are kidnapping her for a girls' night out. Kidnapping's not real, but they did bring a pillowcase to put over her head for some reason. She says no to that, and Amy says she used to be more fun until Leonard punched her in the heart. Penny isn't really in the mood to go dancing, but Amy says it will distract her from Leonard and Priya. She agrees if they just stop pestering her about Leonard and Priya. And so she goes back to start getting ready, and Amy mentions that they could have avoided all the jibber jabber if Bernadette had let her bring the chloroform.
I love that dynamic between Amy and Bernadette. Like you're seeing that like Amy is like the loose cannon.
Right? And what we know from Bernadette, that's not like that's saying a lot because she's pretty loose too. So
Yeah.
for her to be the voice of reason in this relationship, I'm like, damn. Back at the apartment, Zach is telling a story about being in a lodge. He went free balling in a hot tub because he was alone. And I love Stuart's reaction to this because he's not like, oh yeah, but he's also like, what the fuck? Like, yeah. That happens to me all the time.
Yeah.
So
I'm sure he's just excited to hear like a really good story, and that he's actually like excited to be in a group.
he
So
has
excited. I have
friends,
friends. I have friends.
Yeah. And Zach says a chick shows up. She's totally wasted and wants to get in. Sheldon interrupts and asks if it's a jacuzzi or a hot tub, bringing up the notion of brand name word association. Jacuzzi is a brand of hot tub. And I like Zach saying, so it's like all thumbs are fingers, but not all fingers are thumbs. And Sheldon is taken aback a little bit. He's like, surprisingly, yes. And then Zach takes it too far and says, what are toes? Stuart wants to get back to the drunk girl. He wants something to think about in the shower. Poor Stuart. Zach says she took off all her clothes, and the first thing he noticed was, and Sheldon interrupts again, saying the water level rose. No, that's not it, Zach says. Sheldon says, of course it was, and starts telling the story of Archimedes discovering water being displacement during a bath. Barry says, get back to the story. Again, it has the naked girl in it. Sheldon claims his story is better. It's got a golden crown, which Archimedes was hired to find the volume of, and he decided to find it by submerging it in water. Zach says, long story short, he nailed the naked girl. Sheldon says Archimedes shouted Eureka. And Zach says, no, I don't shout Eureka. I shout holy moly. So that's something we learned about Zach today. He shouts holy moly when he finishes. Sheldon says that that concludes getting to know your portion of the evening. Time for some video games, and he brings out some video games, some old video games. Barry says those options sucks. It's time for karaoke. It's time to get plastered and blow the roof off the joint. Zach's gonna make a beer run. Barry's gonna grab the karaoke machine. Stuart's gonna get a shower. And Sheldon looks unhappy as they all leave the room. Raj is a...
Did you think of I actually thought about what I would play on a vintage video game night. So Sheldon's selections were ColecoVision's Smurf Rescue in Gargamel's Castle, Atari's Cookie Monster Munch, and for the text adventure aficionados, Zork, which he wants them to pick. So then I kind of thought to myself, I was like, if I was at a vintage video game night, what would I want to play? I should have texted you this so you could think about it.
Well, you tell me, and I'll think about it while you talk.
If we're going very vintage, me with my age, I used to play a lot of Atari, but I wouldn't go that far. Like even to today's standards, it's like, man, I don't want to go that vintage. It's fun, but it's not that fun. I would go Nintendo, and I would play Bubble Bobble, Contra, or River City Ransom. But if I was playing by myself and I was just having like a vintage video game night, I would probably just go back to Super Nintendo and do Mario RPG or Mega Man X.
Mega Man X is a good one.
That's a great one.
Oh, man. It's a little off topic, but... Not off topic, but... It's not necessarily a vintage video game night, but right now it's in my queue to play Streets of Rage 3. Streets of Rage 2 is probably an all-time favorite of mine. It's much better than Streets of Rage 1, and I had several birthday parties where we played it through multiple times, and I love... The music is fucking amazing. It's like techno, industrial techno.
That's the scroller one, when you're like basically like two cops or something like that, and it's basically just a scroll.
And like one of the characters is a kid on rollerblades, and like we were young at the time, and we were rollerblading. Like, this is fucking amazing.
Yeah.
This is so edgy. But I stand by that the music is amazing, especially for a 16-bit Sega Genesis. But there's a third one, and I remember playing the third one and thinking, this is bullshit. It's too hard, and it's just not as good. And I learned the other day that for the US, they decided that they were going to crank up the difficulty for no reason, and a lot of people had troubles with it. And it just became unfun because they like made it cheap, not like, difficult, but something you can overcome, just like unreasonably difficult. And apparently they did like a whole new soundtrack for it. Like they got rid of the edgy techno soundtrack that the guy, like apparently the guy like created his own code to create this music for it, and they got rid of it for the US audience. And they also got rid of some characters. Apparently there was a homosexual transvestite or something that was like horrifically stereotyping. And so they got rid of his character too. And he was also supposed to be like the best character in the game, like the most powerful or something like that. So, so many differences that I really want to play the Japanese version. And it turns out that I have like a collection of Sega video games on Switch, and that's one of them is Japanese Streets of Rage 3. So that's on the top of my list on there. But as far as I like Super Mario RPG.
Yeah, because if you're hosting a vintage video game night, that's why I chose those three. Because they're multiplayer.
Yeah.
Whereas like Mario RPG and Mega Man technically aren't multiplayer. So that's why it's like if I had a solo one, which I did do every once in a while back in the day, but
yeah. The multiplayer ones really bring it into question, man. Because I was like the original Legend of Zelda or the Super Nintendo Legend of Zelda, but those are single player, right? Yeah, you can take turns. It makes sense. Yeah. It's nothing wrong with Super Mario Kart. The new Super Mario Kart's fun too, but it's a fun retro throwback. Yeah. But I'm gonna say Streets of Rage 2 for now. If I think of anything more,
okay,
but
blurt it out.
And then there's like ones where I'm like I'd want to play, but I'm like, how far could I really get into it? Like Qbert, I want to try Qbert out again, but I think it's one player, but you take turns. And I think it gets boring after a little bit. So it's like, you can't have a whole night on that one game. So I'd have to be very conscientious about this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a thought-provoking question.
right? Although, I don't know if you're here, but one night I did have we were playing a board game and I died in it, so I started for everybody who died in the board game a retro video game night on N64, and Rampage is always a good one to go to. It's pretty easy. It's fun. You destroy stuff. You eat people. I like it.
And soon everybody just wanted to die to play that game.
Right? And let us play. No. Oh. Raj's apartment. They are eating chili. Leonard comments how good it is, and Priya says that she learned it from her flatmate in England who was from Texas, and she taught her the recipe. Leonard says he hopes she wasn't anything like his flatmate from Texas. They start talking about Sheldon being quirky and being more than quirky and being way past quirky. Leonard mentions he is forced to wash his feet before getting into the shower per their roommate agreement. In fact, they both have their own separate buckets to rinse their feet in before getting in the shower. I don't know why that would be, but I think it's just Sheldon being overly
quirky.
Yeah, there's no necessary reason. And they bring up the time that Bill Gates punched him. Apparently, Sheldon went up to Bill Gates and said that if he had not been so distracted by 6 children in Africa, he could have put more thought into Windows Vista. And bam! Punched right in the face. Raj gives a toast to rare and wonderful Sheldon-free evening. Howard mentions it the first time they've done it without Sheldon, a toast without Sheldon explaining what a toast is for. And he mentions it's because Romans used to put spiced toast in their bowls. And so I did IQ point 3 on this one.
Me too. Do you want to go first?
I'll take this one. Yeah,
Yeah.
Not a whole lot on it. But yeah, according to Luigi Bormilio, USA.com, this dates back to Greeks and Romans, and they would raise their cups in honor of their gods. Maybe particularly a gift to Dionysus, the god of wine and parties. He's also the one that, if you study throughout history, is kind of what Pan the goat god looks like, and what Satan has become to look like, drinking and having hoof feet, and they're all interconnected and stuff. But now there's story. And the host would take the first drink to show it wasn't poison, to be kind to his guest. Apparently the toast was added to wine to improve taste. And I couldn't find a lot on this except that it was usually spice that gave more of a spice taste, and it was used to reduce acidity and absorb some of the sediment. So maybe they didn't have great filtering processes, and that was a way to help with filtering. And then it said that part of the toast did come from propino, which was meaning to drink in somebody's health, which is interesting because although we say cheers, most other cultures, their words specifically translate to in good health or for health. In Irish, it's schlanche. In Spanish, it's salud. In German, it's prost. In Russian, it's zdrovia. And they're usually some form of to good health. And then apparently the clinking of the glasses is later in time. It's from medieval times, when it was thought that by clinking the glasses together, you were mixing the contents of both cups to ensure that neither had poison in them. Becoming a symbol of trust. And that's what I got. So basically, yes, bread was put into it, and that's why it's called toast. I don't know how they made the link between clinking the glasses and toast, but it was also partially in order to show that it wasn't poison and everybody was going to die, like Caligula. So
Yeah. I found very similar things. I kind of looked into when, I know it said the ancient Greeks and the Romans and everything like that, but the terminology actually wasn't. No one actually started calling it to toast someone until the 16th or 17th century. So the concept of putting bread in your drink, whether it's wine for the acidity or an ale or just in soup or something, the concept of putting bread in something has been around since the invention of bread. So that part has always been around. Just it was either to kind of amp up flavors, or it was to actually turn your old stale bread more edible. So it kind of extends its life a little bit. So then, you could actually turn your drink into a meal.
Kind of like the fondue we were talking about with dipping stale bread into cheese to make it more edible. Yeah.
Yeah. So people have been doing that since ancient times. And like you said, that's actually when they started drinking to the gods, drinking to their guests, and everything like that. But like I said, the term to toast didn't actually get coined until the 16th or 17th century, and this was in England. So, like you said, spiced or charred bread was added to a drink specifically to enhance its flavor, and that part was popular in England. And one of the earliest written accounts of this practice was actually in William Shakespeare, the play The Merry Wives of Windsor. In the play, the character Falstaff demands, "Go fetch me a quart of sack, put a toast in it." So that's where people are saying that's where the terminology came to be. So it would appear that the origins of the term actually go to England, not technically the Romans. But yes, toast was still in there. People were still amping up their flavors because of the Romans and the Greeks. So they originated it, but the term was coined by the English.
Later on.
Yeah. That's what I found.
Huh. Did you or do you know anything about, does anybody still put toast in their drink?
I don't think so, because
I
we
don't
actually
think so.
because we make alcohol so much better now.
Because we make good stuff. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's kind of what I was thinking about. I was curious if like anybody did this at all. Just
As a tradition.
tradition, or because there's certain flavors that you can only get with bread. I found nothing, but I'm guessing you're right that we do a better job. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, if anybody knows anything, or if you've ever done it, maybe you were drunk and like, this toast would be good in this wine. Let us know.
My cinnamon toast with sugar.
You know what this beer needs? Cinnamon toast. Fuck yeah.
Yeah.
Alright, so then they have a moment of silence, and Raj says Sheldon tells the story better. They all agree, and Leonard admits that he misses Sheldon some. Aww.
So sad.
So sad. Penny's apartment, and they're deciding where to go dancing. Amy is looking for a place that is basically an orgy of the flesh. So she wants one of Caligula's boats, is what she's looking for, right? Penny says she doesn't need to go hook up with a random guy. She's first time in her life, she's okay being single. Bernadette says she could hook up if she wanted to, though. She could bring him home, do unspeakable things to him, then kick his ass to the curb with a smile on his face and teeth marks on his hiney. And
she is definitely trying to live vicariously through Penny.
Right? She's got some work up, pent up. Yeah. I don't know if Howard's pleasing her. Although at this point, yeah, we don't know if they're still together because they just separated. Maybe they're still dating, but they're no longer living together, and I don't know how deep that's running yet. So, questions. But she has some fulfillment issues. Amy,
that's right. Last episode, they decided to not live together, and we haven't really seen them together. This episode.
And it didn't clarify that they were like fighting or breaking up. It was just like, we're not living together. So maybe they just decided that. But we don't know for sure yet. Amy asks what it's like kicking a guy to the curb like that. And Penny says it's fun at the moment, but then it's filled with a bunch of self-loathing and regret. Bernadette says she would take that deal all day long. Sounds good to her. Penny says she's okay being alone, and Amy mentions that she has some techniques to help relieve tension if she's alone, and asks if Penny owns an electric toothbrush. She does not. And Amy finds the snowflake from the North Pole on...
well, she also tells her, you should get one.
You should get one.
Go ahead and get yourself an electric toothbrush.
That's part of the suggestions, right? The snowflake from the North Pole, Penny's looking at it and decides, you know what, I can handle a good night of self-loathing. Let's find me a nice hiney to bite. Amy says if they don't find a guy, they can just go to the store and get her a nice toothbrush. She calls hers Gerard. Back at Sheldon's apartment, Barry and Zach are singing karaoke. Sheldon looks very dismayed, like, what the fuck? Stuart comes out in like 3 different towels. He's like covered in using all their towels, and asks if anybody's done walking on sunshine because he calls dibs. Back at Raj's apartment, they're continuing to talk about Sheldon, mentioning the time that he bought a loom and made everybody serapes. That was around the time that he declared their apartment a sovereign nation and made his own currency. Apparently, Leonard still has some of the currency. I don't think we've heard anything about that before. Or if we do, I don't
Not
remember it.
that one, but we did the Loom though. That was from season 1. I do remember that.
And we did the Cats wasn't that long ago. The Cats was when Amy and him were kind of breaking up, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
that was like not too long ago at all. But I don't know.
Someone wants to say goodnight.
We'll say night night to Ryan.
Yeah.
Say night night, Ryan.
Night night. Have a good night, Hunter. Raj is a part.
Yeah, we were talking about the cats.
The Cats. Yeah, so the Cats was just not that long ago. Was it this season? I think it was.
Yeah, because we met Amy at the end of season 3. So
Yeah.
it was all season 4. So that
was like
wasn't that long ago.
Beginning of the season.
Yep,
this
here's your
year.
cat and your $20.
They had to get some off by paying people. And his mom got called up too to talk to him about what was going on.
Yep.
So Sheldon knocks on the door, and I do like this intro. He goes, "All my friends, knock, 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 and all my friends," because everybody is there. Howard says he thinks it's like Beetlejuice. They've said Sheldon so many times that Sheldon appears.
Yep.
Sheldon says that he has had to leave his new friends. They were having fun all wrong. Priya offers him some chili, but there's no there's beans in it, so it's not really chili. And this is my final IQ point. Did you do it on bean chili?
Of course.
Good.
Foodcast.
Take this one first. You like
All
the
right.
food.
All right. So the overall question is: are beans allowed in chili? And I searched to a lot of websites. I looked at a lot of recipes, but I'm going to keep you at the edge of your seat to the final answer, so we could actually talk the origins of chili.
Ooh,
Because I think it's pretty important to see the progression and why the answer is the way it is, and it's also just fun because you know what? It's a food cast. Hopefully you all like this. So, even though chili has very strong ties to Texas, that's where usually people think it originated from, it did not originate there. The origins can actually be traced back to regions of Mexico and the American Southwest, specifically the ancient peoples of Mesoamerica, meaning the Aztecs and the Mayans. There, the chili pepper was cultivated and used culinarily. Time goes on, and Mexico adopts it and just starts using the chili peppers as a base for many of its dishes. And from there, it spread into America. The term chili that we all know is actually short for chili con carne, which was the original chili. And it is a traditional Mexican dish. So what really started the chili boom in America was the Chili Queens in the 19th century. A group of entrepreneurial women, mostly Hispanic, in San Antonio, Texas, swarmed the streets selling chili con carne. It was so popular that it became a part of the city's cultural fabric. A hot bowl of red, as it's called, and it even became Texas's official state dish. This popularity in chili brought on many different styles and ingredients added into the recipe. So everyone thought, at this time with the chili boom, everybody of course says, my chili's better than yours. No, my chili's better than yours. So there was really only one way to prove it. And this kind of leads into the chili cook-off. So if people aren't familiar with this, it's a pretty big thing in America, especially in like Texas. Chili cook-offs are huge. Even in Pennsylvania. Like once a year, they'll have a chili contest. Who has the best chili? So, again, there's a point to all of this, so bear with me. We're getting to it. This segues into the actual question of, are beans allowed in chili? Because all this debate meant that people had to create rules. So, and in terms of rules, I leveraged the USDA guidelines and the International Chili Society for answers. So now is where I get to rip off the Band-Aid and say, Sheldon is wrong. Chili is allowed in beans.
Vice
But
versa.
we'll get...
Beans are allowed in chili.
Yes. Chili is allowed to have beans.
My beans have chili in them.
Is that what I said? I got too excited. chili is allowed to have beans in it.
Now I'm confused. Maybe he didn't. I mean, that's what I heard.
Wait, I'll have to go back at the playback. We'll go into Sheldon's opinion in a little bit. But the original chili did not have beans. So, what they introduced to America, the chili con carne, no beans. And I'm guessing this is what Sheldon deems to be as real chili, as a Texan. Because chili con carne means chili, meaning the peppers, with meat. The addition of beans occurred in the United States in the late 19th century. So it's been with us for like a long time throughout history, but then we started adding beans into it. And now we kind of go into the USDA guidelines. So the USDA says in order to call your product chili, there is no mentioning of beans in the definition whatsoever.
Ooh.
It's all about the meat and the meat percentage, in addition to the chilies being the primary flavor profile. There is a standard definition for chili with beans, but again, that's all based on percentages of beans in the product, and whether or not you even want to call it that, which is, for your own knowledge, is 25%. So a chili with beans is still a chili according to the USDA. So what about the ICS, or the International Chili Society? Real thing. Founded in 1967, which was acquired by the World Food Championships. Sorry, it was acquired by the World Food Champions, making it an official food sport.
Oh.
And to them, it depends what category you compete in. So if you're doing a traditional red, no beans, no grains. It needs to be that traditional Texas red. If you do a home style, then sure, you can use beans. But according to the rule books, it needs to be Bush's beans. I read the rule book and it was actually very specific. It said specifically Bush's beans. So I'm guessing they're sponsoring them.
I was going to say, there's some money going.
There's something fishy is happening in this chili contest. Chili verde, no beans. Vegetarian, beans are optional. And here's the real kicker. They have this side one that's the People's Choice Contest. And beans are a required ingredient.
Required?
Yeah. And the ICS is very strict about not allowing canned chilies. Needs to be fresh. So it turns out, technically, Sheldon is incorrect. Priya did make chili, and that is what he is eating. So in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, he's just a Texan at heart. Chili's a bowl of red.
Yeah. I was going to add some more background to that, but you said a lot of the main things, and I found that, like, if you're looking for a chili without beans, you look for the traditional red recipes. If you're looking for beans, usually they're called homestyle or Yankee chili. And because you said the early 1900s was when people started adding beans, I read on randallbeans.com that a big part of it, the addition of beans in chili, and that being a common or a staple in chili, is because of the Great Depression. That meat was expensive, people didn't have money, and they were looking for food to go further, to stretch it further, and beans were a good replacement for meat because it's protein. And so they started adding it to that, especially in northern states where they were just being introduced to chili at that time. But another thing I was thinking about, and something I looked into, again, traditional red is what you look for when you're thinking chili con carne, the more original stuff, and most recipes don't have beans in them. They also typically don't have tomatoes in them. And if you look at recipes, sometimes people look at you like chili's not supposed to have tomatoes. And I always thought that was weird because it's red, so I think tomatoes. And it was also weird because in allrecipes.com, it cited a book called New Mexico Chilies, History, Legend, and Lore by Caligula. And it said that there's an account from 1568 that Bernal Diaz del Castillo said Aztecs were known to stew their sacrifice conquistadors and stew them with chili peppers, tomatoes, and spices. So although traditional recipes don't have tomatoes today, there's sayings that sometimes tomatoes were in it before. Although what I found, beans were more of a Great Depression thing. I also found that there's like all this lore about where recipes for chili came from, and there was one claim that a Spanish nun basically astral projected herself and took a spiritual trip to West Texas and was given a recipe for venison stew with chili peppers, tomatoes, and onions. Um, and it seems like a lot of the original recipes were more like a stew, specifically venison or goat stew, that had chili peppers in it, as opposed to chili as we know it today. Although, what is it? There's some accounts, in 1828, there's an account that it was more like a hash with chunks of meat in it, but more peppers. Oh, this is one that there's an account from George W.B. Evans, from the Journal of 49ers, that said Mexicans would often take beef, lard, and peppers and mash them up into bricks. And these chili bricks were common with cowboys that they would keep in their saddles. And to make meals, they would like cut off a chunk of the brick and put it into boiling water. And that would create like a chili on the go, like a dinner on the go, a quick, easy chili meal. And so again, beans weren't part of that. But another mention of the chili queens, which I think is probably where the main idea of chili came from. The chili queens were part of San Antonio, and they were part of the military plaza there. But from my research, it seems like they were just part of the chili, not fest, but fad or interest that was going on, and that there were what were called lavanderas, washerwomen who would travel through Texas with military groups, and they would wash the militaries and soldiers' uniforms. And legend goes that they would wash out their washing pots and then make huge bowls of chili out of them for the soldiers. And it makes sense that they were probably the same women as the chili queens in San Antonio, because they were part of the military plaza. So there's a link between chili feeding cowboys and feeding soldiers and being military oriented. And people came from all over to eat this chili. And what I found weird was, although there wasn't beans in the chili, people often bought from the chili queens tamales, tortillas, and beans. So beans were probably like on the side. And if they got mixed, I don't know. And again, it remained kind of a fixture. Chili queens were a thing until like the 1930s. The last one closed in the 40s, so they're not there anymore. And again, they, for the most part, did not use tomatoes and beans as part of their chili, although there are accounts of tomatoes being used before then. They were just not using them. So again, for the most part, that traditional red recipe, no chili beans, but like you said, and I'm glad you did that research into championships and definitions, you can get that Yankee chili, different categories that do technically have beans in them. Although apparently they have to be Bush's beans.
I know, it's like, whoa, must be Bush's.
Well, it's gotta be Bush's.
Sponsored by Bush's.
I thought that was an interesting. I don't know why I like the IQ point so much, but I did.
Oh, we're not done.
Oh, we're not done. Ooh, more
Okay,
chili.
So
Spill the beans. Huh?
Chili is everywhere in the United States, and it has actually become a regional thing as well. So I looked into what all the different styles of chili are.
Ooh.
So I only talked about the chili. So I didn't talk about the origins because I think that just might take too long. So
Yeah.
let's talk about what each region is and what their signature chili is. So, like we mentioned before, in Texas, it is chili con carne, the OG. It's the Texas Red. It's a bowl of red. Stewed chunks of meat in a spicy cumin sauce made from red chilies, and no filler of any kind. Springfield chili, and that's chili with two L's. So this is Springfield, Illinois. So two L's to kind of, go with the Illinois thing. At least that's what legend has it. Ground beef, Hunt's Can tomato sauce, and a secret spice mix that includes chili powder and Tabasco.
Mm-hmm.
Then Cincinnati has their own chili, and that's a blend of New York and Greece. So back to Greek food.
Oh.
And this is pretty much the Coney Island chili. So if you're familiar with Coney Island dogs, it's the chili that they put on there. So hot dogs slathered in chili. Traditional flavorings of cumin, beef, and chili pepper, but there was an addition of Mediterranean-style spices such as paprika, allspice, cinnamon, and chocolate. And it's usually served on top of a hot dog or spaghetti.
That
Detroit
pasta
style.
one was I'd never heard of it on spaghetti, but I have seen it on like macaroni noodles.
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh, we'll get there.
we'll get there too.
Yeah. Detroit style, similar to Cincinnati style, that it's more gravy like than stew. And it's something that's thickened with a roux and made with ground beef heart, and then serve it on a dog. Oklahoma style, Oklahomians like Texas Red and Cincinnati. So imagine the beautiful chili baby that you would get when you combine them. But then again,
Chili baby.
Oklahoma, yeah, oh yeah. Oklahoma is known to embrace all types of chilies, though, but they always contain beans.
Mm.
So that's the big thing. So then there's Indiana style, also known as Hoosier chili. Looks very similar to the standard beef and bean chili that we would normally kind of think of as we think of chili. Usually contains tomato or V8 juice to increase sweetness, but it must contain some sort of pasta. And this is where, like, the elbow, it was either elbow or broken spaghetti. So that's Indiana style. Kansas City style. We got a few more of these. Kansas City style. Kansas City is home to a lot of barbecue. And so their chili contains all sorts of barbecue meats, like pulled pork, burn ends, chopped up brisket. Otherwise, it's a pretty standard chili. And that does contain beans. Then there's Chili Verde, which we mentioned as a category with the ICS. This one is very different. It's the usual meat is pork, and it's known for its uses of tomatillos.
I was gonna say I saw a picture of that one, and it's greener, so it looks different. Yeah,
yeah, it's really good. I used to have this all the time in Seattle. I should make this again. Yeah,
I'm not sure I've had it. I want it
inspiring
now.
me to make a lot of chili. I definitely want to make a bowl of red.
Mhm.
Definitely. But for chili verde, needs to be fresh hatched chilies, usually roasted and then diced. And there's usually no cumin and no beans. Last three, Rocky Mountain style. There's beans with canned tomatoes, chili, spices, and game meat like elk, deer, or antelope over beef. Then there's white chili, which I actually really like. It could be any meat, but it's usually chicken. They use white beans just to kind of keep it that white color. And then it's usually served with cheese on top. And then we mentioned this one, a vegetarian chili. It's a chili with it could be anything, just no meat. But anything else goes. And those are the different chilies based off region.
I think chili is fun because it's easily, it's a tradition, but it's easily altered to become more unique to your taste and your region's taste and become a staple. Like you said, there's so many cook-offs that like this is special to me and my family and my friends, and I think it's the best. And it's easily to tweak to make it different or better. But it's also so good and it's like warm, and like I know a lot of sites were talking about like it's great for warm or colder months because like it literally warms you up, like both the meal and it's spicy, but you don't have to make it too spicy. So it's just a great meal that you can develop for what your personal tastes are really easily, and it's delicious. So I'm curious, what do you put on top? Do you put cheese, sour cream? Do you do it with noodles or?
I don't really make a lot of chili on my own, but like my work makes a chili. The factory that I work at makes chili, which is actually really good. We actually altered the recipe slightly just to kind of try to improve it. I love it on top of on top of mac and cheese, a chili mac. Oh fuck!
My dad does Frito chili, so he puts it on top of Fritos, and that's really good too. But I tell you, if it doesn't have cheese on it, I feel like it's not a complete meal. I'm it's like eating bread without butter or something. Like I'm like, why am I doing this? Put a little cheese on it. I'm like, fuck yeah, that's a whole meal right there.
I go for it. Cheese, a dollop of sour cream, cilantro.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, some green onions.
And I
Yeah,
like
just
crackers on it too. I like Fritos in it, but crackers on
yeah,
it, oysters or whatever, oyster crackers. They're all so good. It's so many
yes,
options.
it's so good.
Sorry.
We were talking about The Office later, so Ryan is rewatching well, not rewatching for the first time ever
First time.
watching The Office. Did you get to the cold open with Kevin and his chili?
I think
Are you there
so.
yet?
Yeah, where
The
he
pot of chili?
drops it, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So the guy who plays Kevin, Brian Baumgartner, he actually because of that, he actually developed a passion for chili. So he didn't write it, but he has a book where it's a compilation of chili recipes.
Oh. I saw something online, like pictures of him eating chili, and so I knew it was kind of an ongoing thing, but I didn't realize he had a book out.
Yeah.
Ooh, I need to look at that.
Yeah. Chili.
Chili. Hmm. I'm hungry now.
I know. Kind of make me a bowl of red and some chili verde.
I want to try the chili verde. Like I can't believe I haven't tried it before, but it does not look like something I've eaten. So,
I see it a lot at Mexican restaurants, so you probably have really easy access to it already
yeah.
made.
I probably didn't know what it was and just kind of like overlooked it or something. And
Yeah.
usually when I go to a Mexican restaurant, like there's specific things I'm like, I want to eat this tonight. So
Yeah.
like I need a tamale, I need a chili relleno, I need
I feel like I don't treat it like a stew or a soup. I definitely treat it like a gravy, almost like a
uh
curry, where like it's chunks of like the pork shoulder and stuff like that, slow cooked with the tomatillo sauce. You
yeah.
just scoop it over top of like a bed of rice. Oh
Uh
man, so
and
good.
maybe I've had it that way. I'm not thinking of it as having it like in a bowl or something that it's more of
Yeah,
a like topping type thing. Because that sounds familiar. The pork shoulder on rice type thing sounds familiar.
yeah.
Good.
Food cast.
Anything else
Oh.
about chili before we move on?
Nope,
Nope.
that's all we got on chili.
That's
Hopefully,
solid.
you're all still with us.
Tell us how you eat your chili. Send us your recipes too. Like I'd like
Oh
to make a
yeah,
chili recipe. So if you
yeah.
get
I wonder if Howard's mom has like a brisket one. That'd be cool. This is Wallowitz.
what would that fall into? The Rocky Mountain because it's like the chunks, or is it like what category do you think for
Oh well,
brisket?
I guess they wouldn't barbecue it, so it wouldn't be the Memphis. What was it? The
Kansas City?
Kansas City. It wouldn't
Yeah.
be that because I would imagine that's like smoked. I would
Yeah.
imagine it's like the leftover ends that they would just chop up, and that would be really good too.
Yeah.
Oh shit.
All
Oh
right.
shit.
All right. Send us your recipes. We'll look at it.
Yes, that'd be great. Send us your recipes. Yeah.
All right. So Sheldon says Priya's ignorance can be forgiven since she's from a foreign land. And they all kind of look at him like, what the fuck? Raj gives a toast to his friends no matter how quirky. And Sheldon asks Priya if she knows why it's called a toast. She says it's because Romans put spiced toast in their punch bowls. Sheldon says she's a bit of a know-it-all. So he doesn't like that he didn't get to tell the story.
The
Shel-
look on Priya's face too was just like,
it's like,
like fucking Sheldon.
okay.
Like, oh,
She's putting up with him. I think Penny
yeah,
puts up with him better, but at least Priya's trying, right?
yeah,
Sheldon says the food is good, whatever they happen to be eating.
yep,
Back at the apartment, everybody's singing Walking on Sunshine, and LeVar Burton comes in.
yep,
I love Stuart still on the towel, so it's just like, a what the fuck moment. And
yeah.
LeVar Burton turns and says he doesn't think so. He is so done with Twitter. That was a great guest star moment. Like,
Great, yeah.
I'm here for the party, and nope.
Nope.
Mm-mm. And to the vanity card. So this is a censored one. If you watch the episode, it just pops up calling censored, and I actually had to do a little research for this. And I haven't read it yet, but there's a picture included, and the picture kind of looks like an anus. And I think the whole thing is about what is the picture. But what we have is Chuck Lorre Productions number 333, the uncensored version. It was more fun writing these. It was more fun writing these things when I was fairly certain no one was reading them. That is no longer the case. These days, it seems like every vanity card is getting scrutinized and criticized by network executives, corporate legal departments, and publicity departments, TV journalists, and tabloid bloggers. Believe it or not, my musings have been both cheered and jeered by TV Guide. But lately, it's gotten out of hand, which is why I've decided to take a break for a few weeks, let things cool off, a little. Instead of writing short essays that upset people, I've decided to use my 1 second of network TV to do something simple and hassle-free. Starting with this card, I'm going to display a photograph of a part of my body that is entirely innocuous. No longer will I share some troublesome piece of my mind. Now I will share an actual piece of Chuck that is incapable of offending anyone. You know, a foot, a hand, or maybe a toe. So with that in mind, behold, my knuckle. So
Does it look like his knuckle?
it kind of looks like if you take your hand and bunch it up like that. So I'm
Oh,
guessing
okay.
it's kind of the top part, like it's kind of like a fist, but it's the knuckle part of the fist. And so it looks like the anus part of your fist, if that makes sense. Or maybe it's this side, I don't know, maybe the back side, but it's where your fingers kind of curl into each other and you're not really sure what you're looking at, which is
Yeah, I
probably why
just
it got censored.
yeah, I just screenshotted that it said censored, and I was just like, Ryan, you lucky son of a bitch. You always get the shorter ones.
I remember this happened to us once before, and I can't remember what was on it, but I'm like, I have a feeling I need to look deeper into this.
Okay.
It was, and that's it.
Well,
That was
yeah, that was the episode. 5 IQ points.
that was a good one. Some good food ones, man. I enjoyed that
Yeah,
chili one.
me too.
I'm hoping somebody will send us a chili recipe because I actually don't have a chili recipe. I usually use canned chili, and they are always disappointing.
What brand?
Um, right now I'm on a Chili's kick. Chili or not chili, Wendy's kick. They have started canning their chilies. It's not
Oh,
super
they
cheap.
did?
Yeah,
Okay.
but it's I think it's good solid chili. So that's usually what I go for. My dad makes a good chili. But it's not my favorite chili. Sorry, Dad. And yeah, I don't know. I think I like my chili thicker, but it depends on my mood. Sometimes I like it kind of soupy too. And then I think there's a place by me, a barbecue place that makes it. I guess it would probably be Kansas City with barbecued meats in it, but they put pineapple in it, and I like it, but the pineapple makes it a little too sweet for me. So again, it's something that you customize so easily, and it's
Yeah.
all good, and I want to try it all. How about you? What do you go for if you don't make it?
I guess just the one at work, just because
This
I have
one.
such easily accessible. I
It's
get it
always
like almost daily. It's so popular that like every day it's put out at our daily sensory. So it's like,
Mm.
oh, just have the chili, and it's really good. I really like it. So it's like, yeah, put that on top of a little scoop of mac.
I think it's always fun going to somebody's house who's making chili because you're like, hey, what's this one going to taste like? And it's get a little bit of their personality with it.
Yeah. There are beans in here.
This ain't no chili. All
Yeah,
right.
I actually did start looking at recipes, so I am adding to my list to make a bowl of Texas Red. Like I really want to try that.
Straight up
It looks
Texas.
super good, and it's funny because like when you type in, if you just Google search bowl of Texas Red or like a bowl of recipe or something like that, the pictures that the first like 10 pictures I saw all had beans in it.
Of course they did.
Yeah, Sheldon would flip his
It's
shit.
like, this ain't Texas chili. That's not traditional. So I have 123 points right now, not like Sheldon, and I'm still at 119 like Sheldon. I went up 1 point this episode, not like him. So not many points this episode, but that one. And it was because he was complaining at somebody's house, and yeah,
Yeah.
that's all.
Yeah, we did it. What episode? We're not even close to 100 yet, are we? I was trying to keep track of that. We're only at 83, so
83.
we got a while away before we hit our 100 episode milestone.
We're getting there. We're close.
Yeah.
Not super close, but we're getting there. We're over halfway.
Close but not close at all.
But close enough to start thinking of what do we want to do for it.
That's true. Something big.
Do it in towels like Stuart getting out of the shower.
Eating chili, maybe
Eating
some
chili.
haggis.
Yeah. The Haggis episode.
I know I need to look ahead and see what episode number 100 is going to be. Maybe we'll do something special with that one.
And you can let me know if they do anything special in the episode because sometimes they do special things for their 100s. Sometimes they don't.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah, we'll look into it. All right. Well, thanks everyone for tuning in and sticking around. Don't forget to send us an email at theoreticalnonsensepod@gmail.com. Leave us a review on Apple and Spotify. We love those. We like a 5-star review. Birthday's coming up. Maybe it'll be a birthday gift. I would appreciate it. And we will see you next time when we discuss Season 4, Episode 18, The Prestidigitation Approximation. See you then.
See you then.
This was Theoretical Nonsense, the Big Bang Theory watch-along podcast. No PhD required. Our intro and outro music is by Alex Grohl. Thanks for listening. Evil has won.
Evil.